All right, let's do it. All right, hello everyone. We're here with the legendary Sid Kibrick, best known as Woim on the from the Little Rascals. Sid, how are you? How
I'm
doing?
just fine, thank you.
Great. So we're going to go back and talk about some classic Hollywood history. So what got you into to acting?
Well, I was basically discovered, along with my brother Leonard, when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
And the first job I had in the business was being Shirley Temple's leading man at Educational Studios. And I was in 2 movies with Shirley Temple, and then she went on 20th Century Fox, and I got a contract with Hal Roach. And I went to Hal Roach Studios.
What was it? What was the name of the Shirley Temple films? Do you recall?
Broadway Ever and Broadway Special.
Okay.
Those 2 movies that I made with Shirley Temple.
What do you remember about Shirley Temple?
Well, Shirley Temple was a terrific little actress, and during her career as an adult, I used to see her occasionally, and we'd have dinner, and she was a lovely lady.
Oh, that's great.
She became a very important official for the United States government, and she was in Europe for several years.
Wow. I don't know if I knew that. So how did Hal Roach discover you?
Well,
or how did you make the transition from working with Shirley Temple?
Hal Roach saw me in the Shirley Temple movies,
okay,
and he had a role for me, and he had me come across to Hal Roach Studios, and he named me the Woim.
Okay.
And I was the Woim in about 30 some odd movies with Alfalfa and Spanky, and my partner was Butch. It was Butch and Woim picking on Alfalfa and Spanky all the time.
Right, Tommy Bond, right?
Yes.
Tommy Bond. Now, did was there an audition process, or he just said come on in?
No. In those days, the director was Gordon Douglas.
Okay.
And Gordon Douglas wanted the kids to act just the way they act.
Okay.
He didn't want them to be anything special other than that. But in those days, they allowed us to, unfortunately, work 15, 16 hours a day. And it was a lot of hard work.
Okay. What was I going to say? So what was so was there any you think about child actors then and maybe now, was there any schooling on the set or
absolutely there was schooling. That was a law. Mrs. Carter was our teacher.
Okay.
And we used to have 2 hours before we'd go to work with Mrs. Carter, so you'd have to have some schooling.
Okay. What would you say I know that Jackie Coogan had some law passed in his name. What would you say the conditions of child actors back then were?
Well, some had problems. Some were just normal kids. Alfalfa was a difficult kid. Spanky was a wonderful kid. I was a friend of Spanky's for many, many years. I used to go to his home. He lived in Miami.
Okay.
And I lived in Beverly Hills. And he would stay with me in Beverly Hills, and I would stay with him. And over many, many years, we were very, very good friends. Wow, that's great. What was I going to say? So they say that I was going to say, was Alfalfa the terror on set that we heard about? Yes, he was, definitely. He created a lot of problems, and he had to be really controlled many times. He was a difficult kid. Okay. They say he used to. You know what happened to him, don't you? Yeah, we were just reading about that.
one story says he came to some guy's house demanding his $50, and the guy shot him. And,
They were partners.
okay.
Because Alfalfa kept in touch with me.
Okay.
They were partners, and they had a run-in with each other, and they didn't get along, and finally it erupted into his partner shot him and killed him. So Alfalfa was shot and killed.
Well, they had it had something to do with there was a hunting dog involved, or
I don't know that part.
yeah, because in his grave at Hollywood Forever, there's a it says Carl Alfalfa Switzer, and then it has a picture of the hunting dog.
I see.
So that's interesting. So you worked with your brother. Were you and your brother hired at the same time? Or?
No, my brother was a bit player.
Okay.
I was a contract player. I was part of the gang.
Right.
And my brother Leonard was in several movies, but he wasn't part of the gang.
Okay. What was I going to say? Is how did you enjoy playing the role of a bully?
Basically, it was kind of a fun situation.
Okay.
I became very good friends with Spanky, so we used to have some good times as kids together.
Okay.
But the role of Woim was a good role for me because I like being a tough kid.
Okay. Was the would you say that you got to sort of portray a part of yourself that maybe deep down you were a sweetheart, but you like to play the role of a tough guy, or did you always see yourself as a tough guy?
You know, the director gave the kids a lot of direction about what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
When they would laugh, when they would cry, when they would be tough, when they'd be nice. So, Gordon Douglas wanted Butch and Woim to be tough kids. Okay. And picking on Spanky and Alfalfa and Darla all the time. And we did.
What now, obviously you worked with Robert Blake.
Robert Blake really came in a little bit after
your time?
After our group.
Okay.
When Spanky, Alfalfa, myself, and Butch were basically in it for 11 or 12 years, that's when he came in.
Okay.
And he took the role of a our gang person, a Little Rascal, and he was in it for a few years.
Okay. So you didn't have much interaction.
I didn't have much to do with him at all.
Okay, interesting. Because I was gonna ask if you knew him, what kind of kid he was, and were you surprised at?
Well, I knew him as a kid because we were on the set together a lot.
Sure.
But he was a kid. We were all kids at the time.
Sure.
We all got along, except that Alfalfa was difficult. He created problems all the time.
Interesting. What was I going to say? What do you remember about Buckwheat? What kind of kid was Buckwheat?
Well, Buckwheat had a difficult time speaking.
Okay.
And the director just wanted him to be there all the time and say whatever he could say because he had a problem of speaking.
Okay.
But he was a good kid, and he was part of the gang, and I made many movies with him.
Now, do you remember Eddie Murphy's impression of Buckwheat?
No, I do not.
Okay, he used to do an impression of Buckwheat on Saturday Night Live.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I never saw that.
In the 80s. What do you remember about Mrs. Crabtree?
About who?
Mrs. Crabtree.
Mrs. Crabtree?
Yes.
I don't know who Mrs. Crabtree is.
Okay, yeah, she was one of the teachers.
She was a teacher?
She was a teacher on our
Oh, I
game.
probably had her, but I didn't know her by the name Crabtree.
Okay, yeah. She was a teacher in our game.
We had to go to school every day.
Right.
So we had a lot of teachers, but the main teacher that we had during my period was Mrs. Carter.
Okay. What was I going to say? What would you say would be the? Why do you think the show had? I mean, obviously it was a very, very long time ago, but yet it still has longevity, and they even made a movie about it in the 90s.
I just got through signing and sending 35 autographs.
Mm-hmm.
I still get a tremendous amount of autographs. What's interesting is years ago I used to get them from kids, age anywhere from 8 to 15. Now I get them from people that are men and women that are 45 to 80.
Sure.
So that's the interesting part of still all my activity as a child actor.
Okay. What do you think it was about the show that gave it such longevity?
Well, I portrayed a tough kid,
Yeah.
and evidently I was good enough as an actor to do a good job being tough. And a lot of my fans got a kick out of that, and they followed my career.
Okay. What was what would you say would be one of the funniest things you remember that happened on set? Or at least one of them.
Well, actually, what happened one time, Alfalfa created a problem by turning off all the power in the stage that we were portraying our roles in, and they couldn't get the power back on for several hours. So all of us was sitting around mad at Alfalfa for creating this problem. That was one of the things that I remember. And interesting enough, somehow it leaked out, and some of my publicity that I've had over the years always talked about that particular problem that Alfalfa created.
Interesting. So what did you do? It was like I say before we get to that. You were part of Little Rascals reunions that happened, like at conventions or something like that. Is that true, or
What's that?
you were part of Little Rascals reunions?
Oh yeah, we had several reunions. The most important reunion took place about 2 years ago.
Okay.
On Hollywood Boulevard. I gave a major interview at that particular event, and actually, I'm the only survivor of the Little Rascals
Sure.
of my group.
Yeah.
Everybody else is gone.
Right. So who was the? So you used to do reunions? Would you do them at conventions in the 70s, or?
Oh yeah, I did a lot of public appearances as I was growing older and getting more involved with a lot of my fans.
Okay.
My fans would set up parties and everything else for me. I had a very, very strong, big following. And interesting enough that I don't know how it came about, but they loved the role of Woim being such a tough kid with Butch.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely great classic stuff. So what did you do? So after the Little Rascals, you worked in show business until '69, and then you became a realtor. Or?
Well, I did some loan outs for Hal Roach. I was in Dead End, the movie. I was in several other movies. Some of the roles were good and important, and some were cut.
Okay.
But the bottom line is that I was loaned out by Hal Roach because I was under contract to Hal Roach.
Okay.
So when a studio would need a redheaded little kid to do something interesting, they'd call upon me.
Okay. And what year would you say you stopped acting? What year did you stop acting?
Oh, I stopped acting when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. My mother wanted me to continue because I was making a lot of money under contract to Hal Roach. When I worked, I was making $750 a week.
Wow.
And that was a lot of money in those days.
Sure.
And it was important for my mother and my mother's family that money came in very handy. But the demands for a young kid like me was tremendous. So I really got to a point where I asked my mother if I could stop doing it, and she wanted me to continue because of the money situation.
Right.
But I was lucky enough for her to see that I didn't want to continue. So around age 12, I stopped working in the studio.
Okay. And then you went on to have a normal teenagehood, and then you got into real estate.
I got into real estate. I became a major developer. Do you know the area of Thousand Oaks?
Sure.
Okay, I developed Thousand Oaks.
Wow. Okay.
I built over 1,000 homes there for the Jans Corporation.
Wow.
So I was involved with Thousand Oaks for several years, and then I went to the Palm Springs area, and I did developing down there, and I built the Ritz-Carlton in Rancho Mirage.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a big career in developing and building.
What was I going to say? I've heard you say, or it's been mentioned that you were one of the that you avoided many of the pitfalls that many child actors fall into. They're not in a kid anymore. They don't get roles, and they get into drugs and mischief.
Unfortunately, I knew a lot of the child actors like Scotty Beckett, and he overdosed on drugs and he died. And there's a lot of sad situations with child actors.
So what do you think it was about you that you were able to avoid those pitfalls?
Well, I think that basically I had very strong other interests. I had a strong interest in sports.
Yeah.
I became a very successful basketball player at Dorsey High School and then at University of Southern California.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Well, I was going to say that's great that you have, or you wouldn't be here. What would you say? Two things. I ask people of in the older generation the most amazing invention you've seen in your lifetime.
Well, some of the top actors of those days, like Joel McCrea and they took a liking to the kids, and they always wanted to make sure that the kids had a good role in the movies that they were doing.
Okay.
So I remember several times when I was loaned out from Hal Roach that there was just I was going to be in a movie that didn't have much to say or do anything, but some of the top actors wanted us kids to participate more. They thought it would be good for the movie.
Okay.
And we did.
Great. Excellent. All right. And one final question. What keeps you? You obviously look in great shape. You look great. Your mind is sharp.
Well, I'm very fortunate. I'm 95 years old, and I still feel pretty good, and I don't have any major problems. And I look back at my career, getting so much fan mail that I really appreciate the fans that they still remember me as Woim.
Sure. Well, I certainly did, and that's why I came and looked you up, and
That's right.
came to talk to you. So, any last parting words for your fans, or?
Well, I think that my parting words is that it's still a situation where I get tremendous amount of fan mail, and I answer every piece, no matter how many I get. And I'm thankful, and I appreciate that people still remember me as the Woim.
Excellent. Well, we definitely do. So anyway, thanks for taking time to talk to me, and I really appreciate it.
Not a problem.
And thank you.
Got a couple pictures I'll give you.
Oh, great. Thank you. All right. We'll see you soon.